Hi, good evening. It's Barbara. And this is always, I got to get a little microphone, one of those little ones. So, hello. It's March 22, 21, 20. My birthday's 22, 21, 20, 19. Well, it's really the 19th, but I'm going to say it's the 18th because I'm late. Um, hello. Uh, always had to say hello. So, I just want to say, first of all, for those of you who are really sensitive to energy, if you see my energy different every night, it's legitimate. You're reading correctly. I have a lot of stuff going on out in the world. I get so excited to do these. And then something comes up, like I had to arrange transportation for tomorrow. It's always bureaucratic stuff that sends me over the edge. So I had to calm down for a while and then get on. But I know there's people who are sensitive enough to pick up the fact that I was just frazzled. But I don't want to miss my nights and I don't want to miss my commitment. So, so last night, I'm telling you guys, I am learning so much from this. I don't know what's going on if anybody else is out there, but I am learning so much. The universe is really responding to me. And I think we've talked about when you really go for something like this passion project that I haven't been really advertising. When you really go for something that you want, the negativity, the devil, the cow power, whatever you want to call it, it just comes right in every way, shape, and form to stop us. And I'm getting that, which tells me I'm on track. It's kind of backwards. It tells me I'm on track. But it's annoying as hell because, you have to navigate. So one of the things that's thrilling for me is I haven't been able to look in the mirror for quite a few years. I have been so disgusted with the consequences to my body and really did not want to get on camera. So this is big. I wanted to wait until I had, everything done and lifted and, get back to normal and balanced. And, but I'm having fun putting on makeup. I'm having fun playing with my hair. I haven't done this for a long time. So those of you who are praying for me and putting me in the light, thank you so much because it's time. It's time. I was waiting to be perfect, which I've done a lot in my life, waiting to be perfect before I do something. So this for me is a real personal challenge to do this imperfectly, from appearance to the process to not having my microphone. And so I thank you. I thank you so much. And I made something. Again, I don't know if it's backwards, but look at this little rock I made. Does it look right to you? Because I just couldn't do this one backwards. It says smile. It's a little rock. I think it's so cute. I haven't done anything creative in years. Well, I kind of do in my life, but nothing like this. So I got my little podcast rock. And so yeah, I'm going to pick up right where we left off last night because I was on a roll and I got so many revelations today about what we talked about yesterday. So I think I'll start with the light first this time because I'm more balanced. Okay, so see, if I had a Zoom, guys, one of you would be doing this because I don't need to do it every night. Father, Mother, God of all creation, we just let it out. Let out the day. Let out our entire history. Let go of the future. And let's come present right now. And we take one nice deep breath in and release it. And let's take another deep breath in. And Father, Mother, God, masculine and feminine, just now we come before you and we place ourselves on your altar, your sacred altar of creation. And we give ourselves to you fully and completely for all kinds of blessings, reconstruction. Reconstruction. Where do these words come from? Reconstruction, renewal, rest, relaxing in your arms. And we know in this place that we are loved beyond immensely, despite how we may feel, that we are embraced unconditionally, accepted unconditionally, welcomed home unconditionally every time we go to you. And this is that sacred, holy space where we can be ourselves, where we can be authentic, where we can be real. We can lay down every mask, every facade, any negative emotions, horrible thoughts, ailing bodies. And we give you our subconscious to work on and bring forward what we need to know. And we go forward once again into this moment. And we have some goodies for tonight. We are so grateful for this opportunity to be quiet and still, meditative, contemplative, and prayerful. And I thought tonight we might just practice 1 minute. I don't have a timer, but just 1 minute of silence. I'm doing a baby step of 1 minute of meditation a day because I've fallen off the wagon. So let's just be silent for approximately 1 minute. Okay, so we come back slowly. And we open our eyelids and we stay in this peace. And it was really only 30 seconds. I couldn't wait to get back to you. So I cheated. So yes, so I was talking to you yesterday about my unawareness of the multidimensional consciousness that we are. High self, mental, emotional, physical level body, and little one inside. And that I was so young that I wasn't making decisions with consultations with God. I wasn't having him coach me. I was doing the willful, stubborn, wants what she wants, New Yorker. And I should point out, those qualities, I didn't hold anyone else to those things. That was just my own pressure on myself. I'm harder on myself than I am with anybody else, always. So that was an inner awareness that, well, I'm sure it might have been obvious. Maybe it was obvious because I was always going for something. And the point I was trying to make, have my little notes here, was in the process of separating from my ex. I was telling you the awareness that I had that I was not connected to myself emotionally, that I was living in my head. Everything was figured out in my head. And, you know, I was in my heart. I really was in my heart a lot, most of the time. But I didn't have the understanding of the emotions. And that's where the crazy legs in the bed were going. And that's when I thought I was, that I was crying, when I thought I was just leaking water out of my eye and didn't even know it until 4 to 10 years later. So I was thinking about that tonight is we did have a lot of fun. We did go to a lot of parties. I was always getting dressed up. I was always buying another dress and really pretty things that I was buying. And so the feminine energy, even though I said I was mostly in my masculine energy, the feminine energy was there. But I was still had the remnants of the male energy from childhood, from going through college, again, being very hard on myself and always working. I always had jobs, lots of jobs. So I was thinking today, when did the feminine energy come in so powerfully? And I had this memory of in New York, you know, in the winter, we dress, you know, with our coats and mittens and hats and scarves and gloves. And I loved turtlenecks. I don't know, do LA people even know what a turtleneck is? You know, I had my turtleneck up to here. And Bloomingdale's was the best place to buy clothes if you wanted an unusual color. Bloomingdale's had everything in every color, from rain boots to my turtlenecks. My turtlenecks, they went from yellows to oranges to maroons to browns to navy. I mean, I had a collection of turtlenecks. And why did I bring up turtlenecks with femininity? Oh, okay. So I pretty much was always covered up. I was kind of a long sleeve turtleneck type person. I never wore anything low cut. I wasn't into perfume at the time. You know, I still don't because of my allergies. I remember specifically one night I did have something sleeveless on or whatever. We were going somewhere and I did have it lower. You know, there was no cleavage really. And my ex actually commented on that. Like, why are you wearing that? And I remember even then, it kind of blew my mind. I had enough awareness to think like, what? Like, why not? but it was definitely a shift in my consciousness. There was something in me that shifted to a more feminine energy and was starting to show more skin, and I was wearing perfume. Had nothing to do with him. It was just my own evolution. I have my own career. I'm going to graduate school. I'm keeping a home. I have my beautiful clothes. So I was shifting more into my feminine, and I see it more clearly now that he was having a problem with it because I wasn't the same person he married. And yeah, I'm hesitant to say something, but it did something to him. So that was kind of one of those conscious moments, like, and then I continued to buy like really beautiful feminine things and did my little perfume and all that kind of stuff. And a couple of times he said something, and I guess I could have all these kinds of theories about it. I told you I married my best friend, so I mean, maybe on some level we were roommates and I didn't even know it, you know. And so yeah, so that was kind of really the coming out of my femininity, because I had what I needed to make myself feel good and look good for the first time, really, because I was making money. So that was a conscious moment. And I have my little soul, mental, emotional, physical level. I was trying to think about, when did I go back to the feminine energy? And when did I start bringing back the emotional connection to myself? And I dropped all my notes, to be honest. So I don't know where I'm at. Okay, so skipping to the separation. So we separate. And he goes home to mommy. Yep, he goes home to mommy. And I was very adamant that this apartment condo was mine. I created it. I made it beautiful. And I'm not going home to mommy. And so he went home to mommy. And I was essentially single, but separated. And I was teaching. And I went on about 2 or 3 dates. I met a couple of guys, sweet guys. Oh my God, I'll never forget the contrast between them and him. One was into classical music and was just educating me on all his albums. I went out and bought a whole bunch of albums. The other guy, also so sweet, is when I was separating, it was disco era. And I don't know how I hooked up with a gay guy, because LA was one thing, but in New York, and I was out. See, now this is the married woman now, who now is going out during the week to the clubs downtown. I remember it was under the elevated train, and dancing, disco dancing to, Staying Alive and the Bee Gees. And I love dancing, and I was great. So I was just getting, twirled and twirled and twirled around. And so I'm disco dancing. I went on a couple of dates, but I could go dancing by myself. I was driving. I do have to tell you a funny story that has nothing to do with this. I love when these stories come up. One of the clubs that was downtown, all by itself, literally by the meat market, was by the meat market. And I went with a gay friend, acquaintance, kind of. And so we're at the door getting ready to pay, and the guy at the door says to me, I can't come in, that I couldn't come in. It was for men only gay men. And I think that was the beginning of my revolt. I said something to him like, are you serious? You are going to discriminate against me going in there when you know so well what it's like to be discriminated against as a gay man? He was like, like, what? You're going to do the same thing to me that you hate that people do to you? Another conscious moment. It was, so he let me in. But it was just like, people don't make the connect. Sometimes people just don't connect the dots. So that happened in my disco days. And also, I felt like God, Gloria Gaynor, were singing the song "I Will Survive." And I remember the first time hearing it in the discos, I said, that's my song. I knew every single word, and the essence was that I'm going to survive this divorce. I should have locked that key. I can't remember the words, but it is a fun song. So that was my theme divorce song, "I Will Survive." Going to the clubs, and I'm also still teaching. I'm teaching. I am flying to LA to take tests, to interview. I was starting to think of leaving leaving New York to go to LA. I only knew 2 people in LA, the 2 attorneys that interviewed my ex and myself. And I go back to LA. I take the tests. There were like 3 tests. Fly back to New York. Gonna go back again for 1 more test and an interview. Come back to New York. Then I went out once more just to kind of see where I might live, but I really didn't pick a place, but I just kind of drove around, come back to LA. So my psyche is starting to shift. I'm starting to depart New York inside me. Nothing really is happening outwardly. I had a class of about 35 children, 2nd grade. I don't remember her name. I could cry telling you this. But when you teach, you are so connected to your students. There's such a connection. Well, I guess if you create it, my classroom, my teachers, students and I were like tight. And it started from day 1. And so it must have been maybe April, May. And she raises her hand. She's in the first row, 5th seat, little black girl. And she raises her hand. And she calls me by my married name, Mrs., And she says in front of everybody, "I had a dream that you are leaving us." I mean, she picked it up. And I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't want to lie, but I wasn't 100% I was going. I was taking the steps. And I don't remember exactly what I told her. It was all along the lines of, "Oh, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere." But I was lying because she picked it up that I was going. This is a 7, 8-year-old little girl who picked up that I was leaving. And today, if I had that happen, with my awareness of spirituality, I probably would have said something more honest and maybe took her aside later on and just said, I am thinking about moving, and I'm not sure, but you are picking up right. What my intent would be is, I think it's so important for us to acknowledge each other's psychic abilities. Like, I have nobody in my life to say, you Barbie, you picked that one up right. I've always wanted my spiritual teacher. I wished I could call him every night and go, is this what it means? Is this what's happening? Blah, blah, blah. Tell me. So I would have handled it differently. I would have told her a little bit more and not told her bold-faced lie. But see, she was going to graduate 2nd grade, and she would have gotten another teacher anyway. But she would have seen that I wasn't in my room anymore. So, so that's just an interesting thing about how these levels work, the mental, the emotional, the physical, is she was so tuned into me that she had a dream that I was leaving them. So, this connection that we all have to each other is so not a joke. It is so real. I mean, it's more real than if someone was standing next to me. That psychic connection inside is more real than if a physical body was next to me. So, so there I was. I'm coming to the end of my teaching. I'm coming to the end of, well, he's already with his mom. He's already with his mom. And, there was another thing I wanted to tell you. Oh, okay, so here's another thing. Kind of unrelated, but very interesting. I went to my principal, and I didn't tell him I was leaving LA. I said nothing. But I did go to him, and I said, he knew. I said, I'm going through a separation and probably a divorce. And I think maybe I shouldn't be in the classroom with the children because I felt like they were so sensitive. Oh, it happened after this little girl said this to me. I went to him, and I said, do you have an administrative position for me for next year? So that, I don't know how I said it to him, but between you and me, it was about, I didn't want to burden the kids with whatever I might be going through the following year. And so he said, actually, yes. And there was this assistant principal that was a very beautiful woman who was his assistant, and she was leaving. And I had suspected something was going on between them, but I didn't pay attention, and he was married. So he said, yes. He says, so-and-so's job is coming up. He says, you think you might like to be an assistant principal? Now, I am how old? I'm 26. I'm already teaching 3-4 years. And so we just kind of discussed it, but where the conversation ended for me was he said to me, in this day and age, ladies, he said to me, well, you may have to work extra late hours. Now, for me, that was enough. What I read from that is I'm going to be with him some late hours when no one's in the building. And so I never, ever went back to him again about that. So that was kind of my beginning of this whole male, power, control, sexuality, whatever. And he was a married man. And so I didn't pursue it after that. I didn't call him out on it. I just said, I know where he's going. So, so now June is coming, and I wanted to keep close to this mental, emotional, physical. I'm starting to really move into the single woman feminine energy. Dancing, dating, a little bit dating. Oh my God, I didn't have any wash to do. I didn't have any dishes to wash. I didn't really have anybody to cook for. I mean, I was so free. I had no idea how much energy I was putting into this. For me, all I needed was a salad. My laundry is this small, just underwear, and most of the stuff went to the cleaners. And quite honestly, it was silent in my apartment, and I loved it. I wasn't home a lot, but I was really fine living by myself. So, keeping in mind what my purpose is to talking to women mostly who have been thrown under the bus, are considered weak, are considered scapegoats, scapegoated and black sheep, and whatever the control power matrix does. And I know when I'm scattered. I am scattered right now. There's so much here. I feel like I'm going off topic. So this is another one. When we were separating, I had a 2-bedroom apartment, and I had made this beautiful, beautiful den for my husband because he was going to school, and I had bookshelves made. I had a desk. I had this vision of a particular desk that I created. Got him a leather lazy boy to, just read on whatever. 3 bookcases that were attached. I picked the varnish that I wanted, and it was, why did I do this for myself? Really, I'd love to have that room now. And carpeted, different carpeting from the rest of the room. So when we separated, I said, take your room with you, take the stuff. And so he did. And the day he came, he brought a couple of friends, and I made sure I wasn't home. And I took all my jewelry. I had really beautiful jewelry. I had in those days there was the gold chains. I had a short one. I had a medium one. I had a long one. I had a bracelet. I had a beautiful cameo. I remember everything. I had my diamond studs, a couple of rings, my engagement ring, my wedding ring. And I just took everything and I put it in a baggie. I just didn't want it. And I wasn't thinking in terms of money. Like, God, Barbara, you're going to need this money. Go hawk it, So I left the little bag on his desk because I knew that's where he was going to go. And I didn't write any note. It was very clear that I was leaving it for him. And I didn't want it anymore. So that week, I get a call from him telling me that he wants me to keep the jewelry. And, actually, I really didn't argue because I thought, you know what, I didn't see myself wearing it, but I knew that I might need to hawk it, for airfare and everything. So I promised to meet him at a coffee shop at Columbia, where we were both going. And this is the feminine energy coming out. This is the power of the environment and the people around you, the energy. I was making the shift. I don't know what he was doing, but I was making the shift. So I met him at the coffee shop, very civil, and he hands me the jewelry, the bag, and what came out of my mouth, this is profound, people. I don't know how to get this across to you, how profound this was. I never used the word honey. I do now, but I never did back then. And out of my mouth came, thank you, honey. Thank you, honey. And I heard myself say that. And I noticed that I started to use that word. As soon as I got away from him, and he wasn't in my energy field, he wasn't in my environment, he was somewhat in my psyche because I knew a divorce was coming, but thank you, honey. Even as I say it now, where did honey come from? I feel it was a softening of my heart. I think out of his presence, I came back into my own heart, my own center, and that word was just a reflection of the relief and the calm and the centeredness in my loving, which I think was really leaving swiftly. So here I am dressing differently, I've lit my perfume, and now I'm calling him honey, and we're already separated. And I think he might have even been living with the woman at that point. So that's just the point. The reason I'm making that point is when I was telling you I felt so emotionally disconnected when I was like lying on my cheek and the water was coming down, and I thought, what's wrong? And it turns out I'm crying and didn't know it. It's like that's where the emotional level started to come back for the first time, or maybe returning. I don't know. But And that's when I started to get much more balanced. Instead of living totally in my head, I was starting to move down into my heart once he was out of my life. And it's such a lesson for me even now, because right now I'm in the process of going through another major shift. And I can feel my loving returning. Having been in a situation that I felt was really hateful, really horrible. And I feel like I'm getting more centered in my heart. So that's that mental, emotional, and physical, the balance was coming in. So I did want to show you something up there that I haven't said to you. Let me go now. Hold it. Let me turn around. And, okay, there you go. Okie dokie. So the one thing I just want to add to this is coming. So, hello. So, mental, emotional, physical. So here I am, having lost this part of myself in the marriage or earlier. And now we're separated and this is returning. And I haven't said this yet, but when these line up together, when you're in alignment on all these levels, that is the optimum time of creation. Everything's working. Everything's in sync. Everything's in harmony. And that is when things are created in the greatest fashion. So out of this alignment came the ability to move to LA. And so I have another sheet, and I think I'll sit down and show this one to you. Yeah, I don't need to point to this because you guys can tell. Wait, coming back. This really is a homegrown podcast, so let's put this up a little bit. Okay, so let's leave it on for a minute. Let me just move this to okie dokie. So, if you look at the chart, I wrote, there's a lot of spiritual teachers that teach let love lead, meaning, follow the loving and it'll take you where you're supposed to go. But what I got today was let love lead you out. Let love lead you out of the present situation and to make the changes that are supposed to be made, but to do it with loving. And so that's just came out today. So I'll bring it back to myself and I'll kind of read it to you. Oh, I really need to be editing this stuff. So, in letting love lead out, it was 1979. My students picking up that I'm leaving. The principal wants me to stay overtime. I'm not staying overtime. I've interviewed and done everything in LA, so everything was ready for me to move out. He moves in with mommy. I'm on my interviews for jobs. And then the letting go started to happen. And again, this is in alignment with my prayer to help women particularly free themselves of the control and the power and all the matrices around them, from men to jobs to their own negative thoughts, their own fearful thoughts. I was so in alignment, clearly, because he's gone. I'm ready to leave. I did put my possessions in storage, whatever was left, which was a lot. And Star Trek storage, I think I told you. I just looked in the phone book, picked it up. And a couple of friends came over and helped. And before I left, In fact, even my clothes, I had gorgeous clothes. I mean, it took me so long to get these clothes. I barely had them for 2, 3, or 4 years, and they're already, I'm throwing them in the middle of my living room on the floor with my wedding gown, everything. Uh, and I told my neighbors, if you would like to come in and take whatever you want. And a few came. I had beautiful things. So, I mean, anything they got was gorgeous. And I just took a few things with me. A couple of turtlenecks, a couple of blouses. I took my boots. I did take my boots from Saks Fifth Avenue, my cowboy boots. I had 4 pairs of leather boots. And then I wrapped the rest up for Goodwill, and I gave it to them. And so what else? The apartment? Okay. Then, before I get in my car to drive out, and in my car, I have my classical record collection with me. I had my art books, my college art books. Jansen was the main text. And my 45s. And that was pretty much it. I just took art and music with me, and I put everything else in storage. And so now they took it away. So the apartment's empty. And I got we had a condo, half and half. And I just wrote a letter that I release all my shares of the condominium to him, scotch taped the key on it, and put it under the manager's door. And literally, I'm going. And I got in my car, and really what I left behind was friends, family, lots of family more on his side, and fun. I wrote down fun because we had some really good friends. And got in my car with my little bit of stuff and headed out to LA. And as I told you, I hit Sunset Boulevard, and Fred and Ginger were not waiting for me. It was the ladies of the night. And I actually forgot to tell you, I did stay in one of those motels, and it was room number 9, and it's still there. The motel is still there, and my room is still there. It was number 9, like the Beatles song, number 9, number 9, number 9. So this is letting love lead us out of the old. And then of course the next part is, how did I settle down in LA? That was a great concept for me. It's because I have to do that now, letting love lead me out to my next adventure. And this just came up a few minutes ago. I was preparing the camera, and Joseph Campbell came up, and he quotes C.G. Jung, an institute that I worked for. I love Jung. I just love him. And he said a little bit, I'm changing a little bit, that church/religion is a protection from knowing God. A protection from knowing God, as opposed to knowing God. And it's a protection from not going into the darkness, not going into the horrors, not going into the negativity, staying safe and secure in the guardrails of the church, in a protective state where you just follow their rules, their control, and their power. This so resonated with me. And it says, again, the church or religion is a protection from not knowing God. Meaning you cannot really know God in this little protective way. You're just following the church. You're not following yourself. And then he goes on to say, by not going into the dark and not going into your own journey, He says, at some point, when you're ready to learn about God and go into the depths, you leave the camp. Those are his exact words. You leave the camp. This was just so in alignment with my experience with this church. It's like I felt so controlled and so, like, if I just stepped out of line. We all knew this. Many of us knew. If we all knew what the boundary was. It was invisible. No one stated the boundaries. But if you said a certain thing or you did a certain thing, you were going to be something. Some kind of rejection was coming, some kind of scorn or whatever. And I got a lot of it. So I can testify to this. At some point, you have to leave the nest to find God. You cannot do it in these restrictive boundaries. And these boundaries are made by the pastors and by the presidents and by the administrators. You can only go as far as they have gone. So a lot of us have grown out of our churches. A lot of us, like me, have overstayed. I definitely overstayed because I had at least 3 or 4 incidents where I knew it was time to go and I did not go. So the boundaries are imposed by their corporate structure. They're imposed by their own spiritual evolution. And people seem to think that the pastor and the preacher and the rabbi and the minister and the administration, I did too when I first got there, we think they're more evolved. What? Who says that? Where do we get that from? I wrote a comment on Facebook and I said, what if you are actually the teacher and your teacher is the student? Like, what if you walk into a church and you're really there to hold them to a higher standard? And I did a lot of stuff there that I never got credit for, which is another topic. They were functioning at a kind of disorganized level when I got there. I'm schooled. Well, I don't want to go. It was just, I brought forward a much more impeccable level of a student and what papers should look like. And I brought forward at least 6 things. They probably don't know to this day because everybody else, the men, took the credit for it. So this whole thing about being scapegoated and black sheeped, and I said yesterday, I read something else that was really so keen, is what if the black sheep, the ones that leave the toxic environments, are actually the shepherds? They're not the sheep. They're the ones who are shepherding the group, but without a title, without a salary, without a power position. And because those of us who are in black sheep situations, the qualities are, we don't need notoriety. We're not looking to stick out. We're just there to learn and to work. And so we're misconstrued as just like, just ordinary. The opposite of being chosen and being anointed. And with me in particular, it's like there was definitely some kind of belief system that I am very powerfully proving that I am chosen and I chose back and I am anointed and I have great favor with God, or I would not be talking to you. I would be dead or in a mental institution, which is what they wanted, or crazy, or a total failure. So if you're a black sheep or a scapegoat, and mostly I'm talking to women, I think it happens to women mostly, is take another look. Could you be the leader? Maybe you are the leader. silently, without any adornments, no awards, no costumes, nothing. So I think this is just a new concept for me, is looking at the black sheep as the actual shepherds of the group. And in this day and age, especially in the next 3 years, I think we're going to see more and more people who have rebelled against the system and the matrix are going to step forward, women in their power, and start leading. And guys, you've had your chance. You didn't succeed. Now it's our turn. So staying in line with that, so church or religion is a protection from knowing God. I think that is hysterical. And coming out of Joseph Campbell and Jung, what two more powerful people. So that's pretty much letting love lead me out into California. So basically, not even knowing how powerful a decision this was. Oh, and adding to it, I'm driving 3,000 miles out of New York, straight across Route 80 with my little triptych. And I didn't even grow up with a car. And here I am, like driving by myself 3,000 miles away. Did I look at that as leadership? No. Did I look at that as love? The love of God? We're saying you're done here. You're finished in New York. I'm taking you somewhere else where you can learn about me. Now that this man is out of your life, you have all the space. Now that the home is out of your life, you have all the space. All these possessions are gone. You have all the space to fill with me, which is what I proceeded to do as soon as I arrived in 1979. So yes, so that was my first real challenging the status quo in my own way. Like, I am done with the family, I'm done with the friends, I'm done with the job, I'm done with the husband, I'm done with the home, I'm done with the chandeliers. I hated to leave my clothes, but I'm done with my clothes. And literally started from scratch. Really from scratch. So, staying in line with my little mission here. Excuse me while I check my notes. I don't know how much time we're on, but let's see. Where should we go? I have a few choices. Well, let me make sure I did this. I told you about all my jewelry, and I miss my diamond studs. They were very plain and very simple and a little large. My I Will Survive, emotional level. Okay, so I did that. So yeah, I'll talk some more. Yeah, a couple more people got on. Thank you guys. It's so nice to see my familiar faces on this. I'll get it together. Oh, I do want to say that I have been on this Manjaro thing. I told you. As of March 12th was a year. I went to see him today, and this is really great news. But of course, I want more. I did lose 40 pounds. I mean, I went over the top from not eating right, stress. No one in my family is obese. No one on either side. They're all skinny. And so that's been a big issue for me. Looking in the mirror, not wanting to wear pretty clothes, not even having them. So I lost 40 pounds as of this year. My birthday is Sunday. And so my goal next year, so 2026, and a little bit into 2027, I really feel confident I could lose another 40, which would still leave me ideally, well, I'm older now, but I still would like to take off even another 20 in 2028. I'm excited about that. And I have to really acknowledge. It's so hard to acknowledge myself. It's so easy to say, oh no, I want more. Oh no, I want more. This is what we read last night. So let me take a breath here. Being a mush and a crier. My little prayer. And just a review again about that those of us who really love and care for people, I'm going to say it differently. I think I said it yesterday. My focus is not to be negative. It's not like I'm sharing all this lovey-dovey stuff and this high level of meditation and, calling the light. Is I really feel my purpose is to share with people like me who are sensitive the potentially negative things that come at us because of our nature. I feel like that's my purpose, is to kind of warn ladies, young women, is this is not about fear, but we really need to protect ourselves from people who are jealous and envious of our light. And it's just getting more and more profound inside me that it has to be protected. We cannot let ourselves just walking around all innocent and trusting. I don't believe that is safe for us. Because and it's also not good for the planet, because we are the change agents. We are the ones who are going to be making the changes. We cannot afford to be attacked every single second by the negativity or people's personalities. So we have to put up a protection. And I have no other way to say it. I'm feeling like I have to make it good, but no. We have to protect ourselves from the negative energies, people's personalities that are jealous and envious, people who do not celebrate us, who want to see us fail, and there are people who want to see us fail. They may be smiling, they may be your best friend, they may be your lover, but there's a part of them that does not want us to grow and to succeed, and those people have got to go. And I think I said the other day, I needed someone to give me permission and tell me, let those people go. You don't have to keep loving on them. They have their own God. They have their own responsibility to take care of themselves. So that's the voice I feel I have to represent. That part of God that says, I didn't make wimps. I think that's kind of what God is trying to say, is I did not make wimps. I made you to be strong and bold and courageous and go out there into the world in your loving heart and make attempts at changes, which kind of goes against, some spiritual philosophies. So anyway, ladies, I'm going to be talking about protection a lot. The other reminder is, remember, if you meet someone who's vibrating at this level and you are vibrating up here, again, not good or bad, not holier than thou, but just fact. They're at 100 wattage, you're at 300, and here they are thinking that they're so holier than thou, and they're looking down and judging you. When in fact, you're not down there. I have my little soda. You're not down there. You're up here. So if they would just look up, they would see you. But no, they have no concept that you're up there because they're so busy judging you. And that's what's happened to me so many times. Because I kind of keep a low profile and I stay in my own lane, people have always underestimated me. And then when they push me into a corner, like this cornerback here, I come out fighting. Because it's like, no, I'm not staying in that corner. And so I want to give that to the young women and the young girls is take care, set your boundaries. I'm giving you permission. I'm preaching. I'm giving you permission, ladies, to let these people go, because there are so many wonderful people who would love to know you and love to be with you and love to love you, as opposed to these people who really are jealous and envious and limiting. And I'll tell you, many of them are in the churches. I think from my experience out here in 45 years, I have my music friends, I have my artist friends, and then I have my kind of spiritual church friends. And I can confidently say that I have found the most judgment and the most holier than thou attitudes in the churches. I don't see that with musicians. I don't see it with my normie friends. There's something about the church that is conducive to this hierarchy of, well, I'm more spiritual than you. I'm better than you. I'm one of the elite. I want special favors. I don't know. That's been my experience of 45 years out in California. I didn't see it, and I love her, Marianne Williamson. She doesn't build buildings. She builds people. She doesn't build buildings. And as much as you want to donate, she doesn't sit there. And my other church, the president goes to people's homes 3,000 miles away and demands tithes. It's another story we'll get to. Yeah. Need I say more? That's number 19. I said I had 18 things. That's number 19. So yeah, I will tell you, I think I have enough time. Let me just see how much my time is. Yes. I know these are long, guys, so one day they'll be on YouTube. So let's see if I should go into this one. Forgive me for not looking at you. We took our deep dive. Oh, yes. The deep dive. And again, the one key is not only protect yourself, but God is number one in our lives. More than a mate, more than a partner, more than our children, grandchildren. When you're in the thick of it, they can support you, but they don't have the solutions, and they don't know they don't know your karma. God knows what your karma is. He knows. Sorry, I'm so stuffed. He knows what your next steps are, and He knows where to pull you and where to push you, and So I'm a little scattered here. I'm trying to figure out where we are. So should I go with this? I wanted to tell you my, okay, so here it is. So I'm shifting subjects. Racism, sexism, bigotry, discrimination. This might be a topic I should wait on, but I'm feeling like I want to start it now. So, my story is my mother's Jewish. They're both deceased, was Jewish. Sephardic Jewish. That's a Spanish Jewish from actually Turkey and Greece, and came kind of from Spain. And the whole Mideast there. I mean, there was a lot of mixed marriages at that time. And my grandfather came from Italy. I thought it was Sicily, but my cousin wrote to me on Facebook and said it was actually Palermo. So I have this Jewish mother and I have this Italian father. And the reason this is kind of profound sharing, got my little ponytail here, is I was not set up with any kind of religion. Culturally, we enjoyed the Jewish holidays and the singing at Passover and Hanukkah. I went to the temple on High Holy Days with friends and with my ex. So culturally, I had the Jewish background. On the Italian side, when I went to their house, dancing, listening to big band music. This is in the houses. Spaghetti, every Sunday, spaghetti at 3 o'clock in someone's house. And I loved when it wasn't in our house because I got to go to Long Island and everybody else had homes. I was in an apartment, but all my cousins had real homes, basements to play in. So I basically didn't get any kind of religion, but I got the culture of both of them, which was so rich, simple, but rich. And so even to this day, I hear certain music and I just, cry. There's something particularly for me about Jewish music. When I hear the Hebrew music being sung, it does something. And I don't know why, because it's not like I've heard a lot of it. So now I'm starting to grow up. And my last name is Fiammetta, which is very much an Italian name. I'll tell you one day what it means. And so it started with my teachers. They somehow knew I was Jewish. Oh, I know, because I took off the Jewish holidays. In September, October, I would always take off the Jewish holidays. My cousins did. All my friends did that were Jewish. And we would go to temple. Not my parents, but I went with my friends. And so that's how people knew that I was Jewish, because I took off the Jewish holidays. But then they knew that I had this last name, Fiammetta, which is an Italian name. How much more Italian can you get? And so even my teachers would say to me, you're Jewish, but your last name is Fiammetta. So very early, I started to have this identity crisis. Well, like, what am I? Who am I? And on top of that, I'm growing up in the 50s. Twiggy's on the cover of all the girly magazines that I'm buying, Sweet 16 magazine, all the magazines. They're all blonde hair. I'm totally brunette. They're all straight hair. I have a combination of straight in the back, curly on the sides, and kinky in the front. So I've got 3 different kinds of hair. None of them straight. Straight are now, I guess, menopause. I don't know. With this last name, Fiammetta. So I am losing it. Like, where do I fit in? Like, I just didn't fit in. There was no Halle Berry back then. There was no Mariah Carey. I mean, I have models now. I didn't have any back then. All I had was Twiggy. The only model I had was Annette Funicello from the Mickey Mouse Club. And when I look at her pictures now, I actually resembled her at the time. She has a broader nose like me. She had the brunette hair. She didn't have those white wasp, blue-eyed characteristics. And I was even surprised. I think there's something about that was written by Walt Disney. How he picked her and why he picked her. So here I am, half Jewish, half Italian. My mother speaks Spanish. I didn't learn it. Sephardic speaks Spanish. And all the magazines are white, blonde, blue-eyed, skinny. I was skinny, but not Twiggy. I was curvy, so I thought I was fat. So I grew up my whole life thinking I was fat. And ethnic, brunette, broader features, broader lips, broader nose, curvy, not straight, 3 kinds of hair. 3 kinds of hair. And so jumping to kind of the moral of the story is when I got older, particularly when I came out to LA and I was single, I could be sitting. I'm going to tell you the moral of the story first. The moral of the story is that I have been in the living rooms of lots of different ethnicities. And I will tell you that I have heard racist comments from every single group, every single living room. Every single one. And I want to write a book about that one day. There was not one group, not one ethnic group that was solidly clear and pure and accepting of everybody. So every race that I've sat with in living rooms had something to say about others. Now, this is my personal experience. I'm sharing this with you to say that no one is exempt from discrimination and racism. Now, on an individual basis, yes. But in terms of the group, every group seems to have this cluster of sticking together that is common. It's human nature. I don't know how we're going to solve this, but I watched this as a young adult, being in lots of living rooms, parties, whatever. The other part of it was my little soda belches. This is funny, but it hurt. Depending on who I was with, depending on how I wore my hair, depending on my age, because I look different now. I could be sitting in a living room. I'm going to make this one up. I'm sitting in the living room, let's say, with a group of black people, just sitting, partying, and the conversation starts. And someone inevitably would look over at me. And all of a sudden, everyone in the room looks at me before they continue the conversation. And of course, you know what they're trying to figure out, because I pass for black, I pass for Asian, I pass for Spanish, I pass for everything. And they were trying to figure out what I was so they could tailor make that conversation such that, I don't know that they didn't want to offend me, but that they would let out their secrets. So now let's put me in a Jewish living room. It happened more in the black population, but in Jewish living room, conversations, and something comes up, and inevitably someone would look in my direction, again, depending on who I'm with, single, married, how I'm wearing my hair. My hair was a big marker of what is she? And again, everybody would look at me, trying to figure out if they should continue the conversation in the vein that they're going. And I would just sit there silently. And I remember going to a friend of mine. It was a black pastor. And I said to him, I'm confused. I said, this is my heritage that I know of. And I have done my DNA, and it definitely is, I haven't found any black in my DNA yet, but it must go back. But it's Jewish and Italian. And I said to him, I don't know if I owe it to employers, because I was in mixed environments. I had a lot of black friends. I had a lot of Jewish friends. I don't know what you think white is, but white friends. And I didn't know if I owed it to an employer to say, well, by the way, you might think I'm black, but I was really brought up Jewish and Italian. I mean, did you see the pressure I'm putting on myself? It's like, Do I owe it to people to explain myself and then let them make their decisions? And I don't even remember what the answer was, but I just know I felt actually guilty if someone, let's say black, was about to hire me, possibly thinking I was black, and then feel betrayed if they found out that I was Jewish and Italian. So I guess I'm sharing this because this is horrible. This is a horrible way to live. It's like, this has nothing to do with my purpose, but I feel like I have to share this. I want to say, get over it, people. Oh, I know. The really first time I came up against it is I was working on 34th Street. I was 14. I was right across the street from the Empire State Building in a girl's shop. 14, on the trains going downtown. I don't even believe I did that. And when we took our breaks, 15, 20 minutes, we took turns sitting in the dressing room to make sure nobody was stealing the clothes. So I'm sitting in the dressing room on my break, and there were these two black women that came in. Oh my God, the best store on that block was called 34th Street Bootery. They had all the leather boots, the best leather boots, and they were in big boxes at the time. Now they fold them, but big. So these black women would walk in with 4 or 5 each of these boxes of boots. They loved the boots. I think they were the best clients. So they walk in, they put their boxes of boots down, and they're trying on the clothes from my store. And it's happened a few times. And where do they go? They don't look at my eyes, they look at my hair. Imagine someone not looking at your eyes, but looking up at you. So I know what they're doing. They're trying to figure it out. I don't know what to answer them. And, but she asked me. I've had people even ask if they could touch my hair. Now, I'm saying that to you as a 73-year-old woman, but imagine being 14, 15, 16. I am dying inside because I don't know how to handle this. But the word level inside me, exact word level and anger was, I am human. That was my inner response, which I think is pretty evolved for a young girl. In my head, when they would ask me, I would answer silently, I am human. So I am really sensitive to this whole race thing. It's like, what is your problem? What does it matter to you what my heritage is? Unless you're interested, you want to know about my music, you want to know about the food I eat, the food I cook. I mean, that to me is fascinating. But what is our problem that we have to be able to categorize people? You belong in this category, you belong here, and you belong here. So between the living room people looking at me and then working in this store, and I was 14, I was 15. I put myself through college working in that store. It hurt. It hurt. Because, like, what does it matter to you? So I'm just sharing this so maybe someone would just, let it go already. Let's just see the beauty in everybody. Let's see the gifts that everybody has to share. Let people marry whoever they want. What is it your business if it's a mixed marriage? Like, I love to see mixed marriages. When I would see two people walking down the street, usually a black person and a white person, I would revel in that. I just thought it was stupendous. And if I saw kids, even better. Now, why? Why do I have that attitude? I don't know. I came in with this attitude. So I'm just saying, like, please, people, let's stop this. We're all from God. We're all made of the same thing. He did create 12 different tribes. He made us all unique and different. I just want to scream, like, get over it. Like, get over it. And I am telling you what it feels like to sit in a living room and have everybody turn around and look at me and try to figure out, should we keep talking racist talk or should we pretend we're not racist? So that's the essence. And the last story about that was I was sitting in a church. Obviously all I was doing was studying spiritually. So all my experiences are in churches. So I'm in a church that's pretty integrated. And you guys know who it is, probably. Those of you who make the rounds of the churches, really integrated. Everybody was there. And I went there for quite a few years. I would cross over. I would usually go to 2 at a time. And so I'm sitting like this. They're about to pray. And this woman in front of me happens to turn around sometimes we turn around to see who's back there. So she turns around, she's looking, and she lands on my face. And then I see her eyes go up to my hair. Now, in those days, I had a lot more hair. It was out of control sometimes. So it was big. It was kinky. It was frizzy. It was curly. The only straight part was in the back. And I wished it was in the front, of course. And so she stares at me. And she just stares at me, but doesn't say anything. So, now I'm in my 30s, maybe 40s. And she turns back around and faces the minister. And I'm sitting back there. Should I or shouldn't I? So I tapped her on the shoulder. She turns around and I said to her, half Jewish, half Italian. Because I knew what she was trying to figure out. And that was the only answer I could guarantee. So it was just really funny. I knew exactly what she was doing. I had experienced this all my life. And I figured, well, let me just ease her pain. Let me ease her pain. What movie was that? Oh, God. What was that movie? Ease his pain. Let me ease her pain and just kind of tell her. So she has the little reference point, about me. So, and then I do have one more. I'm afraid to even bring this one up. But, yeah. I got four of them here. So anyway, I guess I'll leave it at that one for now, because I do have one about gay men, and that one has to be explained with a little bit more tenderness. So anyway, so that I think also contributed to a lot of the judgments I got. I have one more. I just remembered. I don't want to lose my thought. Okay, so I come out to LA and my first job is teaching at the 69th Street School. Predominantly Black, some Hispanic. And in public schools in the morning, every class lines up, and we have spots, and then we pledge allegiance to the flag. The principal says a couple of things in the yard, and then by one, in an orderly fashion, every class is led to their classroom. So there's one group here, I'm in the middle, and then there's another teacher. I can see her right now on my face. I'm brand new to the school, brand new from New York. I stick out like a sore thumb because everybody else were old timers. So this teacher next to me, she had like a beautiful caramel skin tone, just beautiful, and freckles, cute little freckles on her face. And she had to be older than me. She had to be at least 15 years older than me. This woman would not talk to me. I'm brand new, and I don't know anybody. you would think she would welcome me. How are you? My name is such and such, and how's it going in your classroom? Do you need any help? Let me know. Nothing, nothing. So, I did say hello to her, but I didn't go out of my way. I learned that early. I used to do that. I don't go out of my way anymore. If someone is has that energy field, I'm not going to beg them to like me or accept me. It's I'm over that. So the Jewish holidays come. So it's late September, October. There's two groups. Okay. There's the New Year, Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur. And they're right on top of each other. So I went to my principal and I said, can I please take off the Jewish holidays? She says, of course. We'll just call up and get a substitute teacher, which I did. So I don't show up on the Jewish holidays. And I return from the Jewish holidays. There I am, standing in the back of my classroom. We're pledging allegiance. This lady's, nice to me. This one who never talked to me for the entire month of September suddenly starts a conversation with me. And I'm thinking what happened? What changed? She's very, very friendly. How are you doing? A Happy New Year. She knew it was the Jewish New Year. And I went with it. If someone's going to flow, I'll flow. I'm not going to hold a grudge. So she was friendly with me. And I was in the lunchroom with another woman. And I happened to mention her. I forgot her name and I won't say it. But I mentioned, this so-and-so never talked to me. And now, all of a sudden, she's talking to me. I said, what's going on? She says, you don't know what's going on? Another one of these conversations, you don't know, Barbara? I said, no, I don't know. Okay, so this is racism. This is racism, discrimination, whatever you want to call it. She thought I was a light-skinned black woman. Guys, this is touchy, so I'm letting you guys know this is touchy. Please don't hate me, but this is my experience, and there's nothing you can do to deny my experience. Nothing. She says to me, this other teacher, well, she thought that you were a light-skinned black woman. And that's what her issue was. Or mixed. She said, but when you took off for the Jewish holidays, you became white. People don't realize that Jewish people are not white, but white. And when she knew that I wasn't black or half black and half white, I was acceptable to her. Now, guys, this is touchy, and I know this is going to go out in the world at some point. I was okay with her as long as I was what she considered white or Jewish. But when she thought I might have been half black, mixed, or whatever, I was not acceptable to her. And that what I came to understand is, and this again, I'm open to anybody, an African American group, to, give me further information on this. I only have my own experience. When I used to go dancing a lot, I always hit the black clubs because that's where they were playing Motown, and that's where they were playing all the great R&B music to dance to. And I didn't go with a guy. I always went by myself. And I didn't even wait to get asked to dance. I mean, if I did, I did. If I didn't, I didn't. I just asked. I would ask. I just wanted to dance. I'm not waiting for someone to ask me to dance. Or I'll dance by myself on the floor. So I noticed that a lot of black women didn't like me. And the ones particularly that had darker skin than myself. So I didn't expect to get into this, and I'm not going to erase it. There is a inner discrimination within the black race. I'm not saying it's not everywhere, but my experience, where the skin tone determines your beauty or your hierarchy in the black race. Now, this has nothing to do with me, and this is age old. But so when I would go into the dance clubs, the black women would look at me, and you could see they did not like me. Like, what are you doing here? And it took a man to tell me, and then, of course, a lot of my male musician friends, that they look at you as a potential woman who will steal one of the black men, because they felt that a lot of black men liked lighter skinned women. So this is a discrimination that's within and isolated within a group that has nothing to do with anybody else. It's already planted within the group. I'm sharing that with you for a reason. Is I felt like I couldn't win. I just felt like I just couldn't win. I just don't fit anywhere. There's no place that I could call home that I can own, because I pass for this, I pass for this, I pass for this, I am this, I am this, I am that. And so the church experience when the woman turned around, then in the dance clubs, and then this teacher next to me, it's like, if I was clearly white or Jewish, I was acceptable. If there was any hint or thought or perception that I might have black blood, which, to be honest, I think I do, I was a threat. I was a threat. So I'm sharing this. I know this is a sensitive topic. I may have to erase it at some point. No one thought about me. No one thought about how I might feel. I'm getting rejected. For what? Because I don't look like the way you want me to look? It's really not my problem. It was their problem. But still, it's very uncomfortable. So I guess this is kind of a plea. Is like, let's get over this. Not to deny history in any way, shape, or form. The horrific histories, particularly black people and Jewish people, have some big gripes, righteous gripes, about what has occurred to their people. But I'm just saying, at this point in 2026, I still get the stares. I still get them. Even though I'm older, trying to figure out who I am, whatever. So what does that have to do with my mission? To help young women and help women not have boundaries. I don't know how to work this into my purpose, other than to share with you that it hurts. It hurts to be rejected just based on color or features, or not being the same. It's like, I don't know. I think I was born multi something. When I came out of the womb, it was like my arms were open. Like, I just want to meet everybody. It's been like that since I was little. It's been such a blessing to be able to embrace so many people. And I haven't even traveled yet. I mean, I'm still praying I get to travel. I haven't traveled the world yet to meet my folks. And my folks are everybody. So yeah, how does this fit into everything I do? Don't deprive yourself of meeting precious human beings out there. just because of a skin color or a sexual preference or a gender. What a waste of time. You could be loving and enjoying everybody's culture, their music, their foods. You could be loving that. That might be where your husband or your wife is. You're going to deny yourself not meeting your life partner because they might be in another ethnic group? Why would you deny yourself that kind of love? Because they may be wearing a turban. I don't get it. I don't get it. So maybe that's why I'm talking about it. So this is my life experience as I go on and share with you. Once I got on the spiritual path, it got more intense because I was coming from a place of being in total alignment. Like, yes, this makes sense. We are all children of God. We all have the power. We all have the knowledge. We all have the wisdom if we're willing to do the work. And we are all in the same family. So what is all this crap we're doing? What is it? And I'll tell you what a lot of it is, and we know what it is. A lot of it is we are listening to the matrix. We're listening to these leaders. We're listening to these pastors. We're listening to our parents. We're listening to the teachers. We're listening to all these people who are projecting onto us all this prejudice, and we buy it. Well, a lot of us buy it, but those of us who are independent and free thinkers, we don't buy it. And you know where I have found the least amount of racism and discrimination? Now, this is my experience. Where I have found the least amount and the more camaraderie are musicians, musical artists. They do not care what color your skin is. They just want to know, can you play? Can you play that instrument? And if you can master that instrument, you're in. We got your back. You're in the group. That's all they want to know. Can you play? And then on college campuses, which I've been on 3, the same thing. Everyone is focused on learning and they're focused on academics. And there is another population where I found that, well, maybe someone else will have another opinion, but I found the least amount of racism because everybody's there for the same purpose. We're all there to learn. We're all learning about each other's cultures depending on the classes we're taking. So for me, my ideal environments are to be with musicians and to be on a college campus. That would be my dream. To just be on college campuses. At this point, I would have to be teaching because, no, I could be a student too. And around musicians and singers. I can't think of another group that has that kind of, like, if you're here to learn, if you're here to play, come on in. We don't care about other stuff. Now, of course, there are individuals. But I'm talking in an overall general aspect. And right now, as I'm saying this, I'm judging the hell out of myself. Like, how did I get to this subject? How long is this podcast going to go on? And, but truly, I would love to be around people who talk about this. Those old days when they had soirees and people sat around in circles, philosophers and artists and songwriters, poets sat around in a circle and just communed. Where are you guys? I know there's got to be groups out there. Maybe I have to start one. But that's who I want to be around. People who are cultural, who are looking to build culture. So that's my rant, one of my rants for the night. Um, so yeah, boy, where did we even start with this? Okay, letting love lead you out of the old. Okay, so let love lead you out of the old matrix that says we're separate. From the top man in Washington all the way in every church you've been in, every temple you've been in, any culture, it's don't buy it. Don't buy it. That is your ticket to freedom, is stop buying all this control and all this brainwashing from these people in positions of power. That's where it's relevant. It's like, don't stay at this level of the masses. Like, this is the masses, and one by one, we pop. One by one, I pop, you pop, someone pops out of that to not buy into it anymore. So, there's a great book. I'll tell you the name of it right now. Okay, there is a great book. It's one of my favorites. It's one of my 5 that I read annually, but I don't have it anymore. It's a difficult read. It's called The Creative Process by he's a judge, Troward, Troward. I think it's Thomas Troward. He really was a judge. I came to this book in Science of Mind, and I bought all his books. I read one, and I bought them all, and read them all. And in the book, The Creative Process of the Individual, his sentences go on for pages. One sentence could be 4 pages, so you have to kind of read it slow. And the essence of what I got from the book is that there's an evolutionary process. We all develop thumbs in time. We all develop a pointer finger. Maybe in 100 years from all this texting, the thumb will start to get bigger. So there is this evolutionary process that happens despite us, that God will grow us all generically. That's it, generically. So we're going to evolve. But then he talks about what he calls the artist. He's not just talking about painters and musicians. He is talking about the person who wakes up and realizes that they don't have to be a part of the generic, that they are the ones who build the boats, the ones who realize to keep a boat afloat, it couldn't be flat. It had to have a balancing piece of wood to keep it afloat. The airplane. I'm forgetting names now. But that first airplane, that was someone who stepped out of the generic consciousness, rose up and said, I think we can fly. Then the boat, I think we could sail on water. Then there's the one who builds the bridge. I think I can build a bridge. I think I can make a computer. So his point was that slowly people lift themselves out of the communities, the generic, normal masses, and become an artist. The artist being the one who thinks for themselves, follows their own intuition, and creates something that's never been created before. It's just a wonderful book how he breaks this down. Like I said, his sentences are very long. You kind of have to go slow. But to me, it was so inspiring. It was so inspiring. Like, yeah, I can do I can do my own thing. I don't have to stay in these little boxes that people try to put me in. It's like, and every once in a while, like, I don't know, every 10, 15 years, I have to burst open and get out of the box and the container that people would like to keep me in. And I'm in one right now. I am breaking out of another box. So anyway, Judge Troward, Troward, about the artist, about the generic evolution. I have gone on way too long, guys, and I have to figure out how to edit these things. I don't know how to do it on the phone. So, with that, I'm going to say goodnight, and I haven't said anything about the Passion Project. My paper fell down, but I wanted to really start it fully Sunday on my birthday, but I will, and anyone who wants to jump in can jump in. So smile when you feel like it, and don't when you don't feel like it, and be the artist. Step out of the generic, and don't let anybody box you in ever again. This is the time. We're up against it right now. This is not the time in America to stay in a box. And think freely. Think freely. Don't follow the crowd unless they're going in your direction. So, I was a preacher tonight. Forgive me. I'm trying so hard not to be. And, so I shared with you one of my escapes from New York. I escaped something else, and I'm about to escape something else. So I'm on my third or fourth escape. So God bless everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow night. And good night. Bye.